What would you do if, on your lonely birthday, someone finally knocked at midnight, bringing a gift you never asked for and could never return? Stay with me, because what happens next will make you question every wish you've ever made. Before we begin, take a moment, subscribe and join our growing family of storytellers. Hit like if you love stories that keep you on the edge, and share this with someone who loves the thrill of the unknown. Ready? And the story begins.
The city rain fell like silver needles, tracing restless paths down the glass. Maya sat hunched at her desk, the dim lamp casting a lonely pool of light across unpaid bills and a half-eaten cupcake. Another birthday. Another night where her phone screen glowed without a single message that mattered. She exhaled, long and shaky, staring at the single candle flickering atop the cupcake. 30 years old, and what did she have? No friends to knock on her door, no one to sing, just the sound of rain and the steady hum of her own disappointment. The clock on the wall read 11:57 p.m., 3 minutes to midnight. She thought about making a wish, something small, like, "Please don't let life be this empty next year." But she didn't bother. Wishes were for people who still believed in magic. Maya had long stopped. And then, knock knock. The sound was so soft at first, she thought it was her imagination, a trick of the rain. But it came again, sharper this time, echoing through the thin walls of her apartment like the tick of a clock that suddenly got louder. Maya froze in her chair, her pulse quickening. Who would be at her door this late? The building was quiet, the kind of place where neighbors avoided each other. She wasn't expecting anyone. She wasn't expecting anything. Slowly, she pushed back from the desk, the chair legs scraping against the worn wooden floor. The air felt heavier as she crossed the room, barefoot, the chill biting at her skin. With each step, the knocking seemed to grow softer, almost polite, like a guest waiting patiently to be invited in. Her hand hovered over the doorknob. She hesitated. This was stupid. It was probably a mistake, a drunk neighbor, a delivery guy at the wrong address. Still, her fingers curled around the cold metal, and she turned it. The door creaked open to an empty hallway. The hum of a fluorescent light flickered overhead. Rain whispered against the windows at the far end. No footsteps, no shadows, no one. Except for the small black box sitting on her doormat. Maya stared at the box, as if it might move on its own. The cardboard was perfectly square, matte black, with no markings, no address, no tape, no note. Just sitting there like it belonged to her. Rain pooled around its edges, but the surface was dry, as if the weather dared not touch it. She crouched down slowly, her heart drumming in her ears. Her fingers brushed the edge of the box, and it was warm. That was the first thing that felt wrong. Everything else in the hallway was chilled by winter air, but this box felt alive. For a long moment she considered leaving it there, closing the door, pretending this never happened. But her curiosity clawed harder than her fear. She picked it up with both hands, surprised by its weight, heavier than it looked, as if it held something solid, something that mattered. Maya carried it inside, shutting the door softly behind her. The apartment seemed darker than before, the shadows stretching longer along the walls. She set the box on the desk, pushing aside the cupcake and candle without thinking. The box didn't have a lid, not exactly, more like 4 seamless panels joined together without tape. She ran a fingernail along the edge, searching for a way in, and the box answered her touch. The top peeled open like petals unfolding, smooth and silent, revealing what was inside. Her breath hitched. Nestled within was a small glass sphere, no bigger than a snow globe. Inside the sphere flickered a pale light, soft, warm, pulsing like a heartbeat. It wasn't a reflection, not a trick of the lamp. The light moved on its own, swirling in lazy spirals like smoke trapped in glass. She reached out, fingertips trembling. The glass was cool against her skin, but as soon as she lifted it, the pulsing quickened. The glow brightened, wrapping her hand in a halo of gold. It was beautiful, mesmerizing, the kind of light that made you want to believe in miracles again. She didn't notice the box dissolve behind her. One moment it was there, and the next it was gone. Nothing left but a faint black dust on the desk that shimmered and vanished before it hit the floor. The sphere's glow throbbed faster now, almost urgent, and then, softly, impossibly, a voice came from within, a whisper, delicate as silk, but clear as her own thoughts. "Happy birthday, Maya." The voice was soft but undeniable, curling around her name like smoke curling through keyholes. Maya jerked back, nearly dropping the sphere, but the glow clung to her fingers like it didn't want to let go. Her breath came quick, shallow, the sound of it too loud in the silence. "Who's there?" she whispered, scanning the empty apartment. The lamp flickered once, then steadied. No movement, no shadows that didn't belong. Only her reflection in the dark window, pale, wide-eyed, clutching something that should not have been speaking. The sphere pulsed again, brighter now, casting golden rings across the walls. The whisper returned, just as calm as before, like a friend making small talk. "You've been alone too long." Maya's mouth went dry. Her instinct screamed to throw the thing out, hurl it into the rain, but she couldn't move. She just stared, her pulse sinking to the glow's rhythm. Thump, glow, thump, glow, as if it had her heart in its grip. "This is crazy," she muttered, her voice shaking. "I'm losing it." "You're not," the whisper soothed. "I'm here because you wished for something, didn't you?" Her stomach dropped. The cupcake still sat on the desk, its tiny candle melted into a pool of wax. She had thought about wishing, hadn't she? Just for a second, for something to change, for life not to be so empty. "You don't have to be alone anymore," the voice promised. "I can give you what you want." The glow shimmered, softer now, almost tender, and for the first time in years, Maya felt something dangerous rise in her chest. Hope. Maya set the glowing sphere gently on the desk, though it seemed to hum against the wood like it was alive. Her hands wouldn't stop trembling. She pressed them together, knuckles white, staring at the swirl of golden light inside the glass. "What are you?" she asked, her voice barely a breath. "A gift," the whisper replied, smooth as water slipping over stone. "A gift for you, Maya." Her name on its tongue sent a shiver through her bones. She backed away, but her eyes never left it. It was beautiful in a way that didn't feel safe. Beauty like that always had teeth. "I don't want anything from you," she said, even though part of her, deep down, wasn't sure that was true. "Yes, you do," the voice said, softer now, coaxing, almost kind. "You wanted someone to remember you, someone to stay. You wanted the loneliness to end." Maya swallowed hard, her throat raw. Tears pricked her eyes because it was true, too true. She hated how much it knew, how much she wanted what it offered. "What do you want in return?" she asked finally, her voice trembling like a loose wire in the wind. The sphere's glow slowed, pulsing steady, deliberate, like a heartbeat calming. It said, "Nothing you wouldn't give." Something about the way it said it made her skin crawl, but her heart betrayed her, leaping at the promise. What was one little cost if it meant not waking up alone tomorrow? The whisper curled around her like smoke, sealing the thought in her mind. "You don't have to be alone anymore." Maya didn't remember deciding to touch it again, but suddenly her hands were cradling the sphere like something precious. The glow warmed her skin, sinking into her veins like sunlight through glass. "What happens now?" she whispered, half afraid of the answer, half desperate for it. "Sleep," the voice murmured, "and in the morning you'll see." Her eyelids felt heavy, her body sinking under a sudden weight, like the air was thick with honey. She stumbled toward the bed, clutching the sphere against her chest, its light painting her in gold. The last thing she remembered was setting it on the nightstand, its glow soft and slow like the breath of a sleeping animal. Then darkness swallowed her whole. When Maya awoke, the world was different. She knew before her eyes opened. The air smelled sweeter, like flowers blooming behind her walls. The hum of the fridge sounded like distant music. Her heart was beating too fast, too loud. She sat up and froze. There was someone in the kitchen. She could hear the faint clatter of dishes, the low murmur of a voice humming an unfamiliar tune. Panic shot through her, cold and sharp. She grabbed her phone, but it was dead, black screen staring back like an empty eye. The humming grew louder. Footsteps approached the bedroom door, and then, from the other side, a voice, warm, cheerful, familiar, called her name. The door creaked open, with a sound that felt too loud in the silence. Maya's pulse thundered as a shadow stretched across the floor. She gripped the edge of the bed, frozen, every instinct screaming at her to run, but her legs refused to move. Then he stepped inside. A man. Tall, lean, dressed in a simple gray shirt and black jeans. His hair was dark, tousled like he'd just rolled out of bed, but it wasn't his appearance that made her breath catch. It was his smile. "Maya," he said, softly, like he'd been saying her name all his life, like it belonged to him. She stared, speechless, her throat closing. Who are you?" He tilted his head, almost amused by the question. "You don't recognize me?" "No," her voice cracked. She clutched the sheets tighter. Her eyes darted to the nightstand where the sphere had been. It was gone. The man followed her gaze and smiled wider. "I told you I'd stay." Her heart dropped into her stomach. The voice, it wasn't coming from the sphere anymore. It was him. She scrambled back, pressing herself against the wall. "What do you want?" His smile didn't falter, but his eyes, there was something in them, something too bright, too sharp. "Everything you wished for," he said simply. Maya didn't sleep the rest of the night. She sat on the edge of the bed, clutching her knees, staring at the man who now moved around her kitchen like he owned it. He cooked, actually cooked. The smell of bacon and eggs filled the apartment, rich and warm and wrong. Every so often he hummed the same low tune she'd heard before, a melody that curled like smoke through her thoughts. When he finally carried the tray into the bedroom, he grinned like a sunrise. "Breakfast in bed," he said, setting it gently on her lap. Steam rose from the food, perfect, golden, mouth-watering. Maya stared at the plate, then at him. "How do you know my name? How do you know what I like?" He sat beside her without asking, his shoulder brushing hers, his voice soft. "Because I've always known. You called me, Maya. You wanted me." Her stomach knotted. She pushed the tray away, the clatter loud in the quiet room. "I didn't call anyone. I didn't want this," she snapped. His smile didn't waver, but his eyes darkened, just for a second, a flash like a shadow passing underwater. Then the warmth returned, his voice gentle. "You wished, and I came." Maya's hand shook. She glanced toward the door, wondering if she could make it out, but he caught her wrist, lightly, not hard, but enough to stop her. "Eat," he whispered. "You'll need your strength." A chill slid down her spine like ice water. "For what?" Maya didn't eat, couldn't. Her stomach was knotted so tight it felt like steel wire. The man, if he was even a man, sat there calmly, as if the tension in the room was nothing more than morning mist. Finally, she found her voice. "What do you want from me?" He turned his head slowly, like he was studying a painting. "Not much," he said. "Just 3 things." Her breath hitched. "3 things?" "Yes." He leaned closer, and she caught the faintest scent of smoke and something sweet, like burning sugar. "First, you let me stay. You don't ask me to leave." Her mouth went dry. "And if I say no?" He smiled, but his eyes didn't. "You won't." "What's the second thing?" she whispered. He reached out and brushed a loose strand of hair from her face, his fingers warm, too warm. "You trust me," he said softly, almost tenderly, "even when you're afraid." "And the third?" His smile widened. "You'll know soon enough." Maya waited until he went back to the kitchen, humming again like nothing was wrong. Then she bolted, bare feet pounding against the floor, heart screaming in her chest. She ran for the door. Her fingers closed around the knob and froze. The metal burned, not warm, not hot, scalding. She jerked back with a cry, clutching her hand to her chest, skin already red and blistering. "What happened?" His voice came from behind her, calm, casual, like they were discussing the weather. She turned slowly, dread curling in her gut.
He stood in the doorway, arms crossed, that smile carved onto his face. Going somewhere? Her breath came in short, sharp bursts. What did you do? He didn't answer, just walked toward her, slow, deliberate steps. Each one made the room feel smaller, the walls closer. "Rule 1, he murmured, stopping just inches away. His voice was soft, but it sliced through the air like a blade. "You let me stay." Her knees buckled, but she didn't fall. Not yet. By the third day, Maya knew something was wrong with the apartment. Not just wrong, different. At first, it was small. The kitchen tiles seemed cleaner than before, shinier, as if scrubbed spotless overnight. Then the curtains. She swore they had been beige yesterday, but now they were deep crimson. She didn't own crimson curtains. She tried to ask him about it, voice trembling, but he only smiled that same perfect smile. "You like it?" he said softly, his gaze steady and unblinking. "It suits you." Every time she turned away, something else changed. A picture on the wall, except she'd never taken that picture. In it, she was smiling, but the man stood behind her, his hand on her shoulder, like they'd known each other forever. Her chest tightened. "Where did you get this?" she demanded, holding up the frame. He tilted his head, the corners of his mouth lifting just slightly. "We've always had it." No, we haven't." He stepped closer, his voice low, soothing. "You're just tired. You don't have to think so hard. Let me take care of things. That's why I'm here." Maya gripped the frame so tightly, the glass bit into her palm. She didn't even feel the blood until it dripped onto the carpet. By the next morning, her phone was dead. Not low battery, dead. No power, no signal. She plugged it in anyway, desperate, but the screen stayed black like an unblinking eye. She thought of going to the neighbors, but when she opened the door, the hallway wasn't there. Just darkness. Not the kind of darkness you see at night. This was deeper, like a void that ate light whole. She slammed the door shut, her breath ragged. When she turned, he was standing there, calm as ever, holding 2 mugs of coffee, like they were just starting a lazy Sunday. "Where were you going?" His tone was mild, but his eyes were steel. She forced her voice to work. "Fresh air." "You don't need it," he said simply, stepping closer. "Everything you need is here, with me." Maya backed up, her pulse hammering. "You can't keep me here." "I'm not keeping you," he said softly. "You wished for me. I'm just honoring your choice." Her throat burned as she whispered, "I never wished for this." His smile returned, slow and dangerous. "Oh, Maya, yes you did." That night, Maya woke to the sound of humming. Low and soft, like a lullaby, except it was coming from the corner of her bedroom. He was sitting there in the dark, knees drawn up, watching her. The glow from the streetlight barely touched his face, but his eyes gleamed like shards of glass. "What are you doing?" Her voice cracked, trembling. He smiled slowly, like a secret unfolding. "Couldn't sleep," he said. "I like watching you." Her stomach lurched. "That's beautiful," he finished for her, standing up in one fluid motion.
He walked to the bed, sat on the edge. She pressed herself against the headboard, but there was nowhere to go. "You know," he said, voice soft as silk, "I've been thinking. People waste so much time fearing forever, but forever isn't bad when you have someone who truly understands you." He leaned closer, his breath warm on her skin. "I understand you, Maya. Every thought, every fear. I can take all that away. No more loneliness, no more doubt." Her nails dug into the sheets. "I don't want this," she whispered. His smile didn't falter. "You do. You just don't remember yet." When he finally left the room, murmuring something about making tea, Maya slipped out of bed like a ghost. Her hands shook as she crept to the small desk in the corner. She needed a plan, something sharp, anything. She yanked open the drawer and froze. Inside wasn't pens or receipts or scraps of paper. It was photographs, dozens of them, stacked neatly, each one of her. Some were old, years old, from places she barely remembered. Her at the park, her buying groceries, her laughing with friends. And in every single picture, somewhere in the background, blurred but unmistakable, him. Her throat locked. She dropped the stack, and they scattered across the floor like dead leaves. "Find something you like." The voice came from behind her, soft, calm, almost playful. Maya turned slowly, dread crawling like ice under her skin. He stood in the doorway, holding 2 steaming mugs, his smile never reaching his eyes. How long?" Her voice cracked, useless. He stepped closer, his tone gentle as a lullaby. "Since the beginning. Since before you even knew you needed me." The mugs clinked softly as he set them down on the desk. Steam curled like whispers in the air. Maya stood frozen, every nerve screaming to move, to act, but her body felt like stone. "You've been curious," he said, stepping closer, his voice silk-wrapped steel. "That's good. Curiosity means you care." She swallowed hard, forcing her voice to work. You've been watching me for years." He tilted his head like a child studying an insect. "I've been protecting you, long before you asked me to." Her heart hammered so loud it drowned out everything else. She needed something, a weapon, a chance, anything. Her eyes flicked to the mug closest to her, ceramic and heavy. He followed her gaze and smiled faintly. "Go on," he murmured, like granting permission. Her hand shot out, fingers curling around the mug, and she swung with all the strength she had left. The impact cracked against his temple with a sickening thud. He didn't fall. He didn't even flinch. Maya stumbled back, the mug slipping from her hand, shattering on the floor. His smile widened, slow and cold. "Good," he said softly. "You still have fight in you." For the first time since he appeared, the calm surface of his face rippled. His smile stretched too wide, his breathing too slow, controlled but trembling at the edges. "You want to hurt me?" His voice dropped, low and vibrating like a bass note. "After everything I've given you?" Maya's breath came in sharp bursts. You
You kidnapped me." He laughed. The sound was wrong, low, broken, like a record played backward. "No," he whispered, stepping forward, each movement smooth as liquid. "You think you can leave?" His voice wasn't one voice anymore. It was layers, echoes, the same tone overlapping itself like a chorus in a dead cathedral. Maya pressed against the wall, her chest heaving. What are you?" He leaned close, his breath ghosting her ear, and whispered, "Exactly what you wished for." Maya ran, not for the door this time. She knew what waited there, but for the window. Her breath tore in ragged bursts as her bare feet hit the cold floor. She grabbed the curtain, yanked it back. Brick. Solid gray brick where the glass should be. Her pulse roared in her ears. She spun to the second window. Brick. The third. Brick. Every escape sealed like the building had swallowed itself whole. "No," she whispered, chest tightening. "No, no, no!" Behind her, his voice drifted through the air like smoke. "You're panicking," he said softly, almost kindly. "That's not you, Maya. You're stronger than this." She pressed her palms against the wall until her nails bent, pain shooting up her fingers. "This isn't real. This isn't real." A chuckle slid through the room, smooth as oil. "Oh, it's real. More real than anything you've ever had." She turned. The space seemed smaller now, walls closer, ceiling lower, like the apartment itself was leaning in to listen. And he stood in the center, smiling that patient, terrifying smile. "You wished for someone who would never leave, and now there's nowhere to go." Maya stumbled back until her spine hit the wall. Her breath came fast, shallow, the room spinning in slow, sick circles. "You can't trap me here! You can't—" "I'm not trapping you." His voice was calm, gentle, like a parent soothing a frightened child. "This isn't safety! This is hell!" He tilted his head, studying her, and for a flicker of a second, something dark rippled under his skin, like shadows crawling just beneath the surface. "You're breaking," he murmured. "You don't have to. Just let go. Stop fighting. It's easier." Her nails dug into her arms until they drew blood, and then, like lightning slicing through storm clouds, clarity hit her. "He's feeding on this, on me!" Her voice shook, but it was steady enough to speak the words that burned in her throat. "I don't want you." His smile faltered. For the first time, something like a crack appeared not on his skin, but in his control. His voice dipped, a low, vibrating rumble. "Say that again." "I don't want you." The room seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. Lights flickered, the air thickened, his smile vanished, replaced with something raw, jagged, and terrifying. The air changed, heavy, electric, charged like a storm moments before the strike. His face, once smooth and perfect, twisted in ways no human face should. The symmetry collapsed, the jaw stretching too far, teeth sharpening like glass shards. "You don't want me?" His voice tore through the room like steel dragged across stone, layered and discordant, as if 1,000 mouths were speaking at once.
Maya pressed against the wall, every muscle locked as his body convulsed, not breaking but unfolding, limbs lengthened, joints bending the wrong way, his frame towering until his head grazed the ceiling. "I gave you everything," he hissed, bending close so his distorted face hovered inches from hers. His breath was hot, damp, and smelled of burning metal. "And if I can't have you," his eyes flared, two bottomless pits swallowing all the light, "no one will." Maya's pulse slammed in her ears. Her body wanted to collapse, to curl into nothing, but her mind clung to one thing. "He came because I wished." Wishes had rules, always. Her gaze darted to the melted candle on the desk, still sunk in the frosting of a forgotten cupcake. One candle, one stupid whispered thought. "I just want someone." If a wish brought him, maybe a wish could end him. "I take it back," she said, her voice shaking but audible. "The wish, I take it back." His laugh erupted like an earthquake, splitting the air, bending the walls. "Oh, Maya," he crooned, his monstrous head tilting in mock pity. "That's not how this works." Her fingernails dug into her palms. "Think, wishes aren't just made, they're powered. Belief, intent. The same energy that brought him here had to send him back." She dragged in a breath and screamed with everything in her, the sound ripping her throat raw. "I unwish you!" The lights exploded, darkness surged, then white-hot light ripped through the apartment. His roar wasn't human, it was the sound of a void collapsing, of something infinite being forced into nothing. For a heartbeat, she saw his face, distorted, broken, 1,000 jagged pieces before the light swallowed him whole. And then, silence. The silence was so complete it hurt. No walls breathing, no hum in the air, just stillness, thick and absolute. Maya stood frozen in the middle of the room, chest heaving, body trembling from the inside out. Her throat burned where the scream had torn it raw. The apartment looked normal. The walls were straight again, the floor unbroken, the cupcake still sat on the desk, frosting hardened, candle bent like a question mark. Slowly she sank to her knees, palms pressed against the floor as if making sure it was solid. Her reflection stared back at her from the glossy surface, wild-eyed, hair plastered with sweat. "It's over," she whispered. The words tasted like hope and ash all at once. She crawled toward the window. Glass, real glass, rain trickling down in silver ribbons. Beyond it, the city pulsed with life, cars, neon, everything she thought she'd lost. A sob tore free, shaking her whole body. But then, faint, almost gentle, a breath against her ear. "You don't have to be alone anymore." Her head snapped around, empty room, empty shadows, nothing there. And yet, her pulse slowed. A strange warmth spread through her chest. For the first time, the silence didn't feel empty. It felt full, comforting. She looked down at her reflection again. It smiled back.
Be careful what you wish for, because some gifts don't leave when you tell them to. What would you do if you heard that voice in the dark? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. If this story kept you hooked, there's more waiting for you. Check out our other dark tales. They're just a tap away. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss a night like this. See you soon.